first marriage being that of Adam alayhi salam and Hawa alayhi salam. And the close connection that they had was based off of, well, according to some, that Hawa alayhi salam is actually made from Adam alayhi salam. So this is a natural affinity and connection that they have. And this plays over and over every time we get married. There's also this connection that we have. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives it to us. Love and compassion, as we're going to talk about inshallah, aren't things that you can just generate. Rather, they are things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives as a gift. So let's talk about a hadith. And this is what you guys saw earlier, talking about the rib. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke of the creation of Hawa alayhi salam in many different hadith. This is one. I'll read it, and then I'll read some other variations of this as well. So here, Rasulullah, this is a hadith, translation of course. He says, treat women to the best of your capability. He's addressing the male Sahaba. But the woman was made from a rib, and the most curved portion of the rib is the upper portion. And remember, we said that Hawa alayhi salam was made from the upper left side. He says the most curved portion is the upper portion. If you wish to straighten it, you will break it. And if you leave it be, it'll remain curved. So treat women to the best of your capability. This is an interesting hadith. Many things are being said here, and it requires some clarification. I think, who's heard of some variation of this? Something like it. Not everybody, but a lot of people have heard. I'm sure the sisters have heard something like this hadith before. We're going to talk about it, inshallah. And if you're here in the other programs and you don't remember this, we did cover this, so it's just probably you forgot. So Imam Ibn Hibban in his Sahih, he has a version of this where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, إن المرأة خلقت من ضلع فإن قمتها كسرتها فدارها تعيش بها. Indeed, women were made from a rib. If you try to straighten it, you'll break it. So live with it, and so be gentle. فدارها. Be gentle with it, and you will live with it. Okay, that's one hadith. And this was another, that's two. And a third one here in Sahih Muslim, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, إِنَّ الْمَرْأَةَ خُلِقَتْ مِنْ ضَلَعٍ لَنْ تَسْتَقِيمَ لَكَ عَلَى طَرِيقَةٍ. Indeed, women were created from a rib, or what the woman was created from a rib. She will not be straightened. فَإِنْ اسْتَمْتَعْتَ بِهَا اسْتَمْتَعْتَ بِهَا وَفِيهِ عِوَجٍ. If you are to benefit from her, then you shall benefit from her while she is curved. وَإِنْ ذَهَبْتَ تُقِيمُهَا كَسَرْتَهَا وَكَسْرُهَا طَلَاقُهَا. And if you want to straighten her out, she will break, and the bone breaking in this metaphor is the divorce. Okay, so there's various narrations of this. It's undoubted that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said this. There's so many reports of him talking about this, as well as the fact that we have various narrations that Hawa alayhi salam was made of the rib. Now, this is really important for us to understand. Why? Because when you look at the hadith, it seems like in the Western lens and from, in today's era, it seems very derogatory towards women. Like, she's bent, she's crooked, don't try to fix her, you can't fix her. This is what it seems like. So when people generally hear this hadith, they have certain misconceptions, or at least when men hear, and then also some women also, when they hear this hadith, they have certain things that come in the mind naturally. But inshallah, we're going to talk about it. And what did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mean by the hadith? So some misconceptions first, let's talk about that. And those of you who have heard this, you probably have thought of it or the possibility of it. One is that women are inferior. They're made of a rib, and ribs are curved. So they're crooked in their mentality. Maybe they're conniving, maybe they're evil, maybe they're just made of something else, just, not good. Maybe that has come into someone's mind. Maybe someone has thought that women have poor character. Is that maybe that's what Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was saying, that she's made from a rib, she's crooked. If you try to straighten her, you'll break her, so don't even try, that kind of stuff. But actually, the metaphor is actually eloquent. And there's a lot of lessons that can be drawn from it. And we should understand where Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is coming from when he says something like this. So let's take a look at what these can, sorry, what it means. Okay. So now, one thing, and I have 3 explanations for this, and they're all applicable to the hadith. So, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam stresses that Hawa alayhi salam was made from the rib, and the rib obviously is curved. So, if we were to think of someone who has a rib, but the rib is straight, that person probably will die right after being born, or they'll live a very difficult life. If a person's rib is just shoots straight like this, they might look like what do you guys call it? Minecraft guys, like the blocks, look like a block guy, or you'd just be really weird, or the rib will just shoot out of your body. It just look horrible. So actually, the rib being curved is part of serving its purpose. It's supposed to be curved like that. So what he's actually telling the Sahaba is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created Hawa alayhi salam from the rib. It's literal for her. For all other women, it's a metaphor. Because he's talking about all women and he's using that as a metaphor. So every woman is like their mother, Hawa alayhi salam. She was made from a rib. Everyone else is not made from a rib, but she was. So he's saying that a woman would become the best partner possible for you, is addressing men, when her temperament is different than yours, right? Her temperament being different from yours is actually a good thing. It serves its purpose. So the curved nature that you perceive to be curved, and for her is actually straight. For women, men are curved as well. But he's addressing men, first of all. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is addressing men. He's saying you perceive her to be crooked, but her being like that is actually better for you. I was actually talking to a friend, and he was mentioning how he's having difficulties with his mother and his wife, and I told him that difficulties will always happen. Even I was like, maybe a difficulty wouldn't happen only if you had a clone, but then you would have fights with your clone all the time. You'd fight with anyone who's around you. So when we understand people and their purpose, we can fully understand. So what Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is saying, that a woman's temperament is actually different than a man's. And she will serve her purpose when she's different. Not that she's backward, not that her character is crooked in a negative way. But the rib being curved is actually a good thing. And it's something that we should look for. We actually want our ribs to be curved. The second aspect of a curved rib is it's beautiful when it's curved. When a rib is like I was mentioning, you'd look like you're from Minecraft or something like that if you had straight ribs, or whatever analogy you want to use. When the rib is curved and a person's midsection is curved like that, it creates a lot of beauty. So when women behave like women and men behave like men, you have a beautiful system. What happens when a woman behaves like a man or a man behaves like a woman? It's weird. I'm sorry, in today's lingo, or whatever you want to call it, it is considered strange. It's odd. If you see a man, I don't want to start acting things out, or tomboys or men acting like women, it's kind of odd. So a woman's nature is such that she's curved like the rib. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is telling the Sahaba, don't try to make her like you. Don't try to make her walk like you. Don't try to make her talk like you. Don't try to make her feel the same way you feel. Now, I'm not going to get into this whole thing, but a lot of men think that they're really rational and that women are irrational. I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm saying men think like that. If you were to take a woman and try to make her think like you, something bad would happen. And if a woman is to take her husband and force him to think like her, something bad would happen. There is a beautiful kind of unity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. It's like every human is incomplete. We are incomplete. As men, we're incomplete, and as women, they're incomplete. But they have what we're lacking, and we have what they're lacking. It's like a puzzle. And when you have the two right pieces, they'll fit exactly together. So don't try to put all male pieces and jam them in that jigsaw puzzle. It's not going to fit. Don't try to put all female pieces. It's not going to fit. The curved nature of a woman is beautiful. Okay, so that's another thing. That's what we can take away from the hadith that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is saying. He's not saying that women are less or inferior. He's saying they're different than you, and that is something beautiful. And he says that, he emphasizes in the hadith, live with it or you're going to break her. And breaking her is to divorce her. And so either you live and you appreciate the beauty, or you're not deserving of having a wife, is basically what he's saying. And the third thing, they're different. This is, what I've been saying, that the women are different. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is addressing the mentality of the Sahaba. If you don't know the history of the Arabs, they really look down upon women. Women would have zero rights. They would be, given to people like property. They had no inheritance money. They had no say-so in government. They had no knowledge. They were just really put down. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was addressing and speaking to that mindset. And he was saying that you believe them to be crooked because that's where you're coming from, Jahiliyyah. But they're not. And so he was speaking in according to what they understand. So he's saying, don't try to bend them or straighten them to your mindset. Otherwise, it won't work out. So what we can take away from this very important hadith is that we need to appreciate differences and roles. In Islam, we have this concept of the husband role and the wife role. And these are very different. And some scholars have mentioned a nice comparison, or a nice analogy, we could say. They say that the rib is what Hawa alayha salam is made from, literally, and all women are metaphorically made from the rib. So why the rib? Why wasn't Hawa alayhi salam made from Adam alayhi salam's hair or his head? Like, she could have been like one side of the brain that popped out and turned into Hawa alayhi salam. Or why wasn't she made from Adam alayhi salam's foot? It was possible, or his arm, right? So what they say is that she was not made from the head because she's not supposed to be an authority over men. Women aren't, in Islam, it's not a matriarchal society in Islam, it's patriarchal. The women aren't supposed to judge over men. We'll talk about this later on. Nor is she made from the foot so that men will, treat her like a piece of property. She has rights. She is a unique person, an individual. Nor is she made from Adam alayhi salam's hand so she can physically abuse him. Nor can he do the same to her. We'll talk about that. But she was made of the rib, which is the protector of the heart. So a man will have, and remember the upper left portion, so that is covering the heart. So Hawa alayhi salam is that which is closest to the heart of Adam alayhi salam. So similarly, our wives will be the closest to our hearts.